There's no business like show business. From actors, writers, directors, and behind-the-scenes crew, everyone loves being part of The Biz, and everybody loves those Hollywood stories. My name is Bob McCullough. I'm married to Suzanne Herrera McCullough, and between the two of us, we've got over 200 hours writing, producing, directing, or acting in some of the most classic television series and movies of all time. We've had pretty high-profile careers working with a wide range of celebrity talent and helping beginners get their start in the business, so people have always told us we should write a book. Well, we think getting our story out this way could be a lot more fun, so let's jump in.
Chicken joke! I'm Mrs. Cleaver.
From Television City in Hollywood.
Boy, the way Glenn Miller plays.
We can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Nanu.
Baby, you're the great.
Here comes the judge.
More cowbell.
Not special.
There's anything wrong with that.
And now for something completely different.
There's no business like show business, like no business I know. Everything.
Welcome to Where Hollywood Hides. This is episode number 14. My name is Bob McCullough.
And this is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
And today we're going to be talking about how I sold my first television pilot at NBC Productions.
You know, it's been a while since we've done a podcast.
It has.
Sorry about that, but we have a lot of things going on in our lives, and hopefully we'll have a book out to talk about at the end of the year. Little pressure here for us to get it through. Stay tuned.
Okay. Today, I thought we'd cover my experience at NBC Productions when I went to work for Brandon Tartikoff, who had...
Well, before we do that, we have quite a bit of news here in Santa Barbara, California. We have a reality show that was filmed at the Polo Fields.
Oh, that's right.
Just a couple weeks ago, and I think it's going to be called Montecito.
Are we going to be in it?
Concept. No, they didn't ask us.
Well.
Anyway, it's supposed to be a hour-long show. It's between women between the ages of 15 to 60 and the men who fulfill their dreams.
That's me.
But unfortunately, it's not those kind of men. It's not their husbands or their lovers. It's their ballroom dance instructors.
What?
Yeah.
I'm not much on ballroom dancing, so I guess I won't be in it.
No.
Who's producing this thing?
It's Ryan Seacrest.
The guy who has the Kardashians.
He has many other things as well. Apparently, he thinks this could work. Hopefully it does.
A show about Montecito women and their ballroom dance instructor.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, let's wait. Let's not be judgmental. It could be terrific.
I think we need to get out more.
Maybe. But what I find interesting is what I think a lot of people don't realize how hard it is to make a reality show a hit. And Ryan Seacrest seems to have the secret. You know, half of Hollywood loathes reality shows just because they don't recognize it as real TV, which we probably shouldn't. It's just a reality show, even though, for those who still don't know this, it is scripted up to a point, and then improvisation takes over.
Yeah, my guess is they're scripted to a high degree. I mean, nobody makes that stuff up.
And then the editors do a fabulous job. For instance, The Kardashians, which is the #1 reality show hit. Every one of those family members have to put themselves out there, and they do a good job, and then the editing even makes it better. So it'll be really interesting if this turns out to be kind of a hit.
There's so much else for them to do in Santa Barbara and Montecito besides ballroom dancing. That's the thing that perplexes me.
Well, maybe they're looking for a different kind of an angle. Anyway, the series has received an initial order for 6 shows, and it's centered around David Alvarez's Santa Barbara Dance Center.
Well, we're going to have to get a hold of this guy and talk to him and find out what his secret is.
Well, let's just see how it does as we have a lot of people to interview. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. Also, you want to know the 7 worst reality shows ever filmed?
I think they all suck. There's 7 that really suck?
Well, you're wrong. There's 7 top reality shows that did not do well. I'm not going to say suck.
Okay.
The #1 is World According to Paris, as in Paris Hilton.
Oh, my God.
Sarah Palin's Alaska.
Oh, I never caught that one.
I wear my hair like her all the time.
Did that actually make it to the air?
I think it did. The third one is Bridal Plasty. It's about brides and how they have plastic surgery done before they get married.
Oh, lovely.
Joe Millionaire. He was really cute, but didn't make it. Fifth one is Dirty Soap.
Dirty Soap. What is that about?
I'm not sure. The sixth one was the Hasselhoffs.
Oh, my God.
Like he needs the money,
I was
right?
going to say, yeah, like he doesn't have other stuff to do.
Well, they always want to keep working. And the seventh one is the Real Housewives of D.C.
That didn't make it the wives of politicians, I guess.
I'm not sure.
It seems like everybody's trying to cash in on what the Kardashians have achieved. And the fact is, it's not just their show, but they have retail branding and all kinds of things going on.
They are a unique group of people that happen to be all family. And I have a feeling it's Kris Jenner, who's the mother, who's behind this. But whatever and whomever makes it work, it's a one of a kind.
Any other Santa Barbara Hollywood tidbits?
Well, Rob Lowe will be turning his attention. He's going to be playing President John F. Kennedy for the National Geographic TV movie called Killing Kennedy.
Hey, that's Bill O'Reilly wrote that book.
Bill O'Reilly and I believe Martin Dugard. So that would be great. I'm looking at this picture in the Montecito paper, and Rob Lowe really looks like JFK here.
I got to tell you, not a lot of guys who were as pretty as Rob Lowe age as well as he has. I think the guy's better than he was when he was young. I mean, he was really a pretty boy, and now he's turning into quite the actor.
Well, he's been working quite a bit. So that's our other news. And one more tidbit of news, which is really fabulous, is Katy Perry is going to be on the cover of Vogue magazine.
Local girl makes good again.
Yeah.
That's big time.
Katy, who's 28, she's known for her eye-popping, racy costumes, but she's really toned down her look, I hear, in Vogue magazine, and she was photographed by the great Annie Leibovitz, and it's going to be in the July issue, so that's coming up.
Cool. That brings more attention to Santa Barbara.
Proud of Katy.
Every time.
I'm a big fan.
But she's not really like a model. She's just a real personality. I guess that's why they're putting her on Vogue.
Well, Vogue really doesn't have models on the cover anymore. They have celebrities.
I better brush up on my Vogue
That's okay. You don't have to. I'll do it for you. And I also wanted to mention, please look on our website, withHarriet.com. We've gotten great response under our music notes. There is a little article called Can We Go on the Record? And a lot of people commenting about vinyl records. It's really fun. How they're going out and buying some, how they're pulling theirs out. And
I'm glad we still have ours.
Yeah, that's great.
Half the fun of having an album is the artwork, I think. I love looking at the actual album cover and the cover notes and all that stuff. So do check out our music notes section at our website, withHollywoodHides.com. You'll be up to speed on the vinyl revolution and find all kinds of classics you can buy there. Just click on the Amazon links and you'll find some crazy old rock and roll music there. Since we've been doing these podcasts, we've made a lot of new friends who've been kind enough to support us by shopping on our Amazon links at wherehollywoodhides.com, as well as some great iTunes reviews they've given us. So we just want to return the favor with a couple of shout-outs today to some seriously talented people, including writer, producer, director Harlan Schneider. Harlan's got a new film, Claustrophobia. It's now available on iTunes either as a DVD purchase or a 30-day rental, which is practically free. And it's really worth checking out. It's called Claustrophobia. It's a taut psychological thriller that kind of puts you in the center of the action as the world closes in on a young deaf guy who's got a real problem with a crazy next-door neighbor. The film stars the amazing Russell Harvard, who was in the Oscar-nominated There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. And Claustrophobia features several other equally haunting performances that I think will leave you gasping for breath. I checked out the trailer. The film looks fantastic. It's a fully professional, real independent production that shows you what can be done. So check it out. It's Claustrophobia at the iTunes store.
So what are we going to talk about today?
Well, today we're talking about my very first television pilot that got produced when I was working for NBC Productions.
So we're going to talk about your first failed pilot.
Well, hey, any pilot that gets shot is not a failure. The failed pilots are the ones that you don't even sell the script for.
Right.
But I had a kind of a unique experience because I had been at Aaron Spelling Productions and I had been over at Warner Brothers and done a number of things. And through CAA, Bill Haber and those guys, I was introduced to Brandon Tartikoff, who in the early mid-'80s was something of the prodigal son, a wunderkind, if you will, a young programming executive who was extremely well-liked among the creative community as well as the executive ranks of the networks. He had been a protege of Fred Silverman, who had come over from ABC with a string of hits and then presided over NBC in a period of abject failure back in the early 80s. Brandon was a unique guy in that he was just so likable and so creative and so patient. Most network executives are very impatient. They want an instant hit. So I was brought over really as kind of a guy who had a track record of success, and I was pitching a lot of different pilot ideas and was actually working with a guy named Peter Engel, who was in the same building with me. He had been given a project called Saved by the Bell, and he developed that, and that became a monster hit.
That was a fun show to watch.
That was a great show for families and kids. And what Brandon did for me was simply say to me, have you ever worked with Dick Butkus? Now, Dick Butkus was
He's a football player, right?
a Hall of Fame Chicago Bears linebacker. Well, I said to Brandon, why would I ever have worked with him? I'm still standing, because Dick Butkus was known at the time, just before he made the Hall of Fame, as the meanest man in football. There's a long record of his accomplishments on the gridiron.
Gee, it seemed so nice when I met him.
He was a teddy bear. He was a wonderful guy, but he was literally the most dangerous guy in football, the most feared man in football, because he had the leading number of tackles and fumbles and fumble recoveries and all that stuff.
He didn't look that big to me either.
Well, he's about 6'2" or 3", but he's a pretty wide guy. He made me look like a peanut.
I was going to say, I guess it's because I'm around you that he didn't seem so big.
Right. So, but Dick had kind of branched out into show business and become something of a commercial spokesman, and had guest starred on a number of television shows. And Brandon wanted to put him in his own series. So I got to meet Dick Butkus, and he and I sat around and talked.
So let me ask you something. I have a hard time believing that Brandon was just sitting around on his couch looking at football, and he said to himself...
No.
He said to himself, I think I want to put Dick Butkus in the show. Isn't it more along the lines of Dick Butkus's agent was fishing around and trying to get him some kind of...
A regular series, yeah. I mean,
right.
Dick had already appeared in a lot of movies like The Longest Yard, Necessary Roughness. He was in On Any Given Sunday. He had been in the ABC miniseries Rich Man, Poor Man. He'd had a lot of very small parts, kind of working his way up as an actor. So
me.
Like you. So they made a deal with him, and the deal was to star in an NBC half-hour pilot. So when I met him, he and I literally sat around his place in Malibu kind of thinking of what would you feel most comfortable with. And he really had a very keen sense of humor and, like you said, a teddy bear affability about him. So we created a family sitcom around him, a one-camera show, and then we went through the casting process. I mean, it was kind of a gift to me to be given a guy like Dick Butkus to work with, because he was so flexible and such a great collaborator. Long story short, I write a script, and it was about a family, an ex-football player and his family, and now he's a stay-at-home dad, and his wife is working, and this is before there were a lot of stay-at-home dads.
Gee, you were really way before your time, because just last week on TV in one of the news stations, I heard that 48% of all married couples, it's the wife that is making the money and the husbands are staying at home.
Right, and that dynamic became the source of a comedic conflict in the family that I created, because the wife had to return to the workplace because now this husband is unemployed. He's a retired football player, and he's the one who winds up doing most of the parenting while his wife gets up early in the morning, gets dressed, and goes off to her office job. So we created a series of characters. We had some great kids in the family, played by...
So who was the cast?
Well, the cast was Trisha Lee Fisher, played the daughter Shelley. The last name of the family was Kowalski. The show was originally called Kowalski Loves Ya, kind of a Polish-American guy, bigger-than-life sort of character.
Is Dick Butkus Polish?
No, but he kind of played it very well.
Okay.
And the other cast members included Missy Kreider in her very first television acting role. She played Suzanne Kowalski. Where did I get the name Suzanne, I wonder? The breakout star in his very first television role was a young actor named Johnny Galecki, who has gone on to become one of television's biggest current stars. I think he's got over 400 credits to his name now. Major series lead. And one of my favorite people was Harriet Nelson.
Oh, I want to talk about this.
She came in to play the grandmother.
I want to talk about this.
Okay.
I was in love with her son, her youngest son, Ricky Nelson.
Yes, you were. And I told her that when I met her.
Well, I'm sure it was nothing new to her. Everybody loved Ricky Nelson.
Right.
I guess I liked that look. But Ricky Nelson, I have to say, I remember something I regretted very much. 1985, I think it was early in December in Santa Barbara, Ricky Nelson and his band came to the Arlington Theater. I remember, I didn't know that, and we were walking by. He was playing there, and he said, do you want to go in and see him? It was kind of
I said,
impromptu.
Look, Ricky Nelson, let's go watch it.
And I said, no, next time. And the end of that month, he had died in a plane crash.
There was no next time, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So I had a great time interviewing prospective cast members because Harriet Nelson wasn't cast when I wrote this show, obviously. All I had was Dick Butkus, so...
Do you remember when we went to the sushi place and I saw Ricky Nelson?
No.
On Ventura Boulevard?
Oh, yes.
Yes. He kind of looked at me.
and you couldn't eat. I remember that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It was...
you were dropping sushi on the floor.
I don't get starstruck too often, but there's only a couple people I do, and he was one of them. He was not as big as I thought, not as tall.
Not as tall as me?
Not as tall as you.
So anyway, the fun part of doing a show at NBC at that time was they had a terrific casting department, and we went through a long list of women who might play the grandmother, the mother-in-law to the Dick Butkus character.
She was perfect.
And when they said, would you ever think about Harriet Nelson, I jumped out of my seat because I grew up watching Ozzie and Harriet too. And she came in, and I must tell you, like so many of the people I've worked with, from Jane Wyman and Lana Turner, there's a long list. Harriet Nelson was probably one of the most likable people you've ever met. She was, in fact, what you saw on Ozzie and Harriet. So she was terrific to work with.
And she had a cute son.
God, yes.
David was cute too. But
that's
Ricky...
true. Are we going back to Ben Affleck now? Yes, Ricky Nelson was her son. So we had a really an amazing cast for a little half-hour one-camera comedy show. We had Paul Shinar. B. Richards came in on the show.
Paul Shinar, wasn't he in Scarface?
He was in Scarface.
He was so bad.
And a really talented actor. He could take any horrible line I wrote and make it work.
He had a great voice.
So the show was basically Dick Butkus trying to deal with the fact that his wife has become a success and he's staying at home with the kids, and his little boy was struggling in school, and B. Richards is the teacher of the Johnny Galecki character.
You know, we just saw it last week, viewed it for this podcast. I thought it worked really well.
I think it's a good show, even if I wrote it. I wrote it, so who am I to say it's great? But I thought it worked really well. It had laughs and it had tears.
There's only one thing that was missing.
You.
Me.
Right.
I didn't want to say anything.
Well,
but...
the director of that pilot was a man named Harry Harris, with whom I'd worked many times, including Falcon Crest and a couple of other shows, and just a terrific guy. He had a real sensibility for the family shows. He'd done some Eight is Enoughs. One of the more unique things about the show is that we had a cinematographer whose name was Joe Biroc, B-I-R-O-C.
That's a cool last name.
And he was he was an older man when we did the pilot. And this is a guy who went back to, he had been the DP, the director of photography on It's a Wonderful Life. That's how old he was.
That was a good movie.
He did that.
I didn't know that.
He did Bye Bye Birdie. He had been the DP on Four Star Playhouse in the early 50s. He had been the DP on Blazing Saddles with Mel Brooks.
Wow.
So this is a guy, my big job as a producer was to leave the director, Harry Harris, alone, sit there and talk to Joe Biroc all day and get stories out of him. And it was fascinating.
A lot of experience there.
It was real Hollywood history.
I sure would have liked to have interviewed him.
Yeah. So the show was actually shot 90% on location. We found a house in North Hollywood that was the perfect little house. So once the pilot was done, we had it all edited, we suddenly found ourselves in a kind of a changing paradigm as executive management at NBC changed. It really didn't matter how good your pilot was, because if the people who have helped support you aren't there anymore, your show's not getting on the air. Probably one of the best things that happened to me on that show was that I had so little interference with respect to the script.
Even from the actors?
Even from the actors. Once Brandon Tartikoff approved something, that's what we shot. And sometimes that's completely the opposite experience you have as a writer. Things are changing constantly because you have a cast that doesn't like the dialogue, or you have a director that wants to rewrite it, or you have a network that can't make their minds up. And I must say, my respect for Brandon Tartikoff runs very deep, because once he committed to something, that's what we did. And Harry Harris was very much the same way as a director.
How was Dick Butkus to work with?
About as good as it gets.
Really?
Yeah. He had to do some physical things. He was still going through some difficult things in his retirement with respect to his knees, having played so much football.
But because he played an ex-football player, I would think that was no big deal.
So when he was limping around, it kind of worked for us, right? But Dick had to do a lot of things he hadn't done before, which is really deliver punchlines and help other cast members shine, if you will, because he was the tent pole of the whole series. He made the kids look really good, even though two of the kids were brand new. They'd never done any television. To make them comfortable in a fully professional studio setting was not always that easy. And as you know, when you're shooting with kids, you only get 6 to 8 hours a day. You can't work them the usual 12 to 15-hour day.
Right, so you have to use your time wisely.
Exactly. We had to have on-set teachers and kind of work around the children, who are now, of course, adults.
So Harriet Nilsson, did she have to work full-time?
Yeah, I mean, she put in a full day, yeah. I mean, that's the thing about being an actor in Hollywood. If you're going to be on a movie set, you better be ready to perform at all times.
But I mean, she was quite elderly at that point.
I think she was in her 70s, yeah.
Oh, that's not so old.
Well, she's a senior citizen, I'll put it that way. But yeah, I mean, everybody gets a chair and they have their own dressing room, so it's not uncomfortable, but it is a long day. As you know, when you're shooting, everybody shows up no later than 7 o'clock, and usually the actors are in makeup at 6.
So what happened, Bob? What happened to the pilot?
So what happened to the pilot was we found ourselves up against a lot of stiff competition. Networks always shoot more pilots than they need. They don't really know what they're going to be requiring to compete with the other networks when the fall season comes around.
So for the audience that does not know the process basically is you're darn lucky if you get to shoot your idea, script.
Well, you're lucky if you pitch the idea.
Right.
You tell them, don't worry, I can write a great script. You get them to believe in that.
Yes.
You go off and write the script. Mm-hmm. And now a number of people read the script. I think, at least
they go ahead and approve it. You
Right.
film the pilot.
Right.
And now you have to stay at home. And the network executives take a look at all the pilots that have been green-lighted to be filmed.
Right.
And then not everything makes it to TV, and they have to decide.
Like 9 out of 10 don't make it. And I was in that 9 that year. This was a pilot that was great, should have worked, might have worked the year prior or the year after.
What was their excuse, or was there any why it didn't make it?
They didn't need it.
Wow.
Just as straightforward as that.
It was too soft, maybe.
Well, NBC had a really tumultuous couple of years. That's in '86, I believe. They had the Olympics, and they had programmed an entire year around the Olympics, and then Jimmy Carter pulled the U.S. teams out of the Olympics. So their entire schedule basically fell apart, and it became quite a challenge for them to maintain their status. As a matter of fact, they began kind of a long downward decline at that point. So having not failed, but having produced a pilot that didn't air, that didn't succeed as a series, and even though they went off and ordered a number of scripts, we probably wrote 13 additional episodes getting ready to shoot a series.
How disappointing for the actors as well as for yourself.
Well, everybody's geared up and they're buying new cars and all kinds of crazy things. People are kind of counting on it, but it's not a good idea to count on that.
No.
Don't spend the money until you actually have it in the bank. That's for sure.
Right.
So again, having created something that didn't work, I was suddenly moving on.
Something you forgot to talk about were the tennis shoes.
Well, I was very keen on Michael Jordan and Nike at that time.
Well, you and everybody else,
Yeah,
Bob.
I mean, it was a phenomenal thing that had happened. Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls was approached by Nike as not a sponsor, but they wanted to use his name and brand him across a lot of their apparel. And his Air Jordans became such a big deal. It was kind of a cultural, socioeconomic phenomenon. And I thought, if this show becomes a hit, if Time Out for Dad becomes a hit, I want to be in the shoe business. So part of this, I wrote into the storyline that Dick Butkus, his character, he becomes the brand name for a shoe company. And I designed the most crazy pair of high tops.
It was crazy. That could have been the reason why.
You think the shoes killed it?
It didn't go on. Well, they were yellow, orange, and white striped tennis shoes.
Yeah, they were like a sunburst. They were really cool. And today, I promise you, if you saw those in a shoe store, you'd say, "Oh, those are great. I'll pay $200 for those tennis shoes."
Do we still have the demos?
The shoes?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're around somewhere. They're pretty cool. We also had the little toy football. I was big on product placement, and we created a number of products for that show that we could have sold a lot of if the show ever made it to the air. But it didn't. The best laid plans, right?
So what did you do afterwards?
I waited for my contract to expire, and it didn't take long. Of course, at that point in time, as a writer-producer, you get real busy on the telephone, and you start calling other people who are working on series you like.
Well, what about your agent?
Well, you let your agent know that things may not be working out here.
But don't they start making the phone calls?
You have to urge them.
Find you.
You have to tell them, "Hey guys, it looks like this is not going to make it, and my contract is up in 3 or 4 months. What are we going to do?" And they start putting the feelers out. And from there, I went to Warner Brothers, and we'll talk about that next time. How I got involved with Pat Morita from Karate Kid.
Now, that was a good movie.
It was a good movie, and the TV show we made was horrible.
Oh, I remember that.
Right. I also want to mention an up-and-coming vocalist by the name of Phil Steinberg, who's got a great voice and big-time singing ambitions. Phil's getting his name out there as a vocal talent for commercials, studio recording, and as a big band crooner. He's based out of St. Louis, and he's got a great sound, kind of like a cross between Tony Bennett, Bobby Darin, and Frank Sinatra, if you can believe it. And he's got quite a resume of live performances. You can take a listen to Phil at philsteinbergsings.com, where he's got a ton of great stuff for your listening pleasure. So if you're into classic crooner stylings, check him out. That's philsteinbergsings.com.
And just as a reminder to our growing audience of listeners, be sure to check out our website at withHarriet.com for show notes, photos, and the latest in showbiz news. And please click on to our Amazon banners to take you directly to the world's biggest online shopping mall. I love it. I keep doing all my shopping through there, and love getting stuff in the mail. So whatever you're looking for books, movies, pet supplies, shoes, it's at Amazon.com, and the links at wherehollywoodhides.com are the quickest way to do your shopping.
My name is Bob McCullough.
And this is Suzanne Herrera McCullough.
Until next time.
Adios.
From Chilicombes and Paducas with their bazookas to get their names up in lights.
All armed with photos from local rotos, with their hair in ribbons and legs in tights. Hooray for Hollywood! You have no way of knowing who'll make good.
Maybe you'll be another Papa Dion, your name in neon. If you get lucky, you could. Yes, buddy, you'll arrive if you can top his 5. Hooray for Hollywood!